Hi guys, I am back and this story is about how Starbucks paid for my baby. And that is not clickbait, that is 100% true. I have even donned my apron and my little hat. I think there's probably honestly whipped cream because it gets everywhere. I think everyone always explodes a whipped cream within the first few weeks of working there. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to share a little bit about how I got the job at Starbucks and what their insurance covers. So if you saw my last video, you saw why my husband and I needed to have IVF. We unfortunately had two ectopic pregnancies that resulted in my fallopian tubes rupturing. Because of that happening, the only way that we were going to be able to conceive or have a child is to do IVF. So I pulled the numbers from my clinic and I looked at how much it would cost for an IVF cycle. Now, if you are new to the IVF world, there's a lot of lingo that you will have to learn. And I'm assuming if you're at this video that that's probably why. So before we get into the Starbucks side of it, I'm going to break down what an IVF cycle is and we'll go from there. So an IVF cycle essentially is when they go in and they manipulate your normal cycle and they give you medications to have you create lots and lots of eggs. Normally every month a woman makes 1, maybe 2 eggs. If they get fertilized and they implant, she becomes pregnant. If they do not, then she has her period. So with IVF, they give you medication, be it oral or injections. My IVF cycle was all injectables. So that meant shots in my stomach and shots in my upper booty area, right below your back. Those are the intramuscular, and the ones that are in your stomach are the subcutaneous. So you take medications, and those medications are called stims. And stims is short term to stimulate your cycle. So you go in, they monitor, they do an ultrasound, they look and see how many eggs you may potentially have. They do that by counting follicles on your ovary. So at the beginning of my stim cycle, they wrote down a number and then they based my medications off of my age, my fertility problem, and how many follicles I had. I started those medications, and after you've done that, then you will do a trigger shot. Essentially, that halts your body from releasing those eggs. And they go in and they surgically remove them. After they do that, they mix it with sperm, they make them into embryos, and then depending on if you do a frozen cycle or if you do a fresh cycle, they will either within 5 days implant that embryo back into your uterus, and there are more medications that you have to take, or they will freeze all of those embryos and then you will schedule a different date. Usually they wait like about a month, and then you come back again. It's about 2 weeks of shots. You do the transfer, they put it inside of your uterus, and it either sticks and implants or it does not. So for that to be done, for that entire process to go through my clinic without insurance, for just the retrieval, which is where they pull the eggs and they mix it into the dish and they fertilize it, and then they would freeze it, that was $11,563. Now granted, this is a number from 2018. For the transfer, which is the other half, which is where they now have to put that embryo back inside of you for you to become pregnant, for you to be able to have a baby, was $8,336. So that total was $19,899. That does not include anesthesia for your procedures, which was another $500. That did not include cryopreservation, which was another $1,500. That did not include any genetic testing whatsoever. And that did not include blood work, which is done through Unilab for my clinic. And it did not include the monthly storage fee. So with the anesthesia and the storage, that was another $2,000. So now you're up to $21,000. And then the Unilab cost on my cycle was right around $1,000. So you're talking $22,000 at a chance to become pregnant. And this is why people can't afford IVF. This is number one why. So when I contacted my clinic and they gave me those numbers, there's absolutely no way that my husband and I were going to be able to afford that. If you know from my previous videos, I am a preschool teacher and my husband is in law enforcement. We do not have a ton of extra money. And when this happened, we had just bought our first home. We had just paid off almost $6,000 in medical bills from the first 2 pregnancies that required surgeries, and in between those pregnancies, I also had my gallbladder out. There was just no way. There was no way that we were going to be able to afford $22,000 at a chance of having a baby. So I started researching, and I came across Starbucks. And this is where we get into how Starbucks bought my baby. So, Starbucks is an amazing company, first and foremost. Let me just start there. They value their employees. They have lots and lots and lots and lots of benefits. And don't get me wrong, it's a hard job. It is a hard job, way harder than I ever thought it would be. I've never worked in food service. This is my first job ever. And I got into it at 29 years old, and I never thought that I'd be a barista at 29. But I found out that they cover IVF for part-time employees, and that was like a light bulb that went off in my head. There was no way I was going to let the idea of having to work hard get in my way, because it was daunting. I already worked full-time. I'm a teacher, like I said, so that job does not end when I leave my classroom. It doesn't. There's a lot that goes into it. So I knew that I was going to have to commit a pretty big portion of my time away from my husband, away from my family, and focusing on this potential possibility of a baby. So I started researching on ways that I could do this before I found out about Starbucks. And everything else was full-time. Amazon pays for it because you work full-time for them. Lots of banks, Wells Fargo does it. But again, you have to work full-time. And I really did not want to give up my teaching job. I loved my job. I had no background in finance. I had no background in technologies. I wasn't going to be successful in those companies. So when I found out about Starbucks, I actually found out through an article that was actually created by a news station about someone who did the exact same thing. She needed IVF. She got a job at Starbucks. So Starbucks not only covers IVF, they also cover multiple different health ailments. They cover a lot of things that are a little bit controversial that people don't really 100% agree with or want, and a lot of insurance companies are very particular on that. So if a company is like, oh, we don't feel comfortable covering that, we're not going to pay for it. It's not medically necessary. And some of those things are hormone therapy replacements for people who are transgendered. It covers lots of different medical ailments, a lot of natural medicines and things that aren't normally covered by most insurances because it's not deemed necessary, which is very unfair that that's how this world is. And they also still cover IVF if you're a same-sex couple, which is amazing. So a lot of insurances would then turn around and say, no, it has to be medically necessary. It has to be this, it has to be that, it has to be this. IVF with Starbucks, one of their companies, their insurance companies, does cover it without any pre-authorization. You come in, you say you want to do IVF, they'll do it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what the requirements are and what you have to do to get this job. So I put my application online, and then I looked up every single Starbucks in my county, like anything that I could drive to and I felt comfortable. Thankfully, I am lucky enough that I have quite a bit of local stores in my area. I have 3 in this county alone, and then I have a county that borders ours, and there's 2 there. So I had 5 within a 20-minute drive of my house. So I applied to all of them. I didn't hear back from all of them, but what I did is after I applied online, this was literally like 3 days after my surgery from my last pregnancy, I met with the IVF doctors. I saw the number. I realized that wasn't going to work for me. I applied at Starbucks, and then I started going in. And I am a big proponent of putting a face to a name. So I printed out my resume, and I went in and I introduced myself. I feel like making a personal connection and talking with someone can get you a long way. And that's how I've gotten jobs in the past, is just by going in and talking to people and saying, hey, hi, my name is Candace. I filled out an application online. I'm really interested in working here, yada, yada, yada. So I came in, and I remember I spoke to one store, and it was very discouraging. The gentleman that was there didn't have time to talk to me, didn't want to talk to me, didn't care to talk to me, didn't care that I put an application in, and pretty much just told me to leave. And not so nice of words. And that kind of made me really sad. I got in the car and I cried. And my mom was actually driving me around to do this because I was still on medication, so I wasn't 100% able to be driving and things like that. And unfortunately, when it comes to Starbucks, it is a great job. It is a hard job, but it really depends on your manager. If it's somewhere that you want to work or somewhere that you don't want to work. So then I went to the next Starbucks. And they were nice. I talked to them and they were really sweet, but nothing really kind of connected. And then I went to the Starbucks that I ended up getting hired at. And I remember walking in and I introduced myself to the first barista that was there, and she was a shift supervisor. And we really connected, and she liked me, and she was like, you know what? I'm gonna make sure to tell the manager about it. What was your name again? Let me get your resume. And I walked out of there and I felt really good. And I thought, this might be it. This might be it. And I will tell you, from experience, do not go in on a Saturday or a Sunday. Try to go in during the week, and especially not early morning, because that's our peak time. So you don't really want to come in anytime before 8 o'clock, and you don't really want to go in anytime like after 3, because usually the managers are gone by then. So that sweet spot is kind of from 10 to like 1. A lot of times that's when managers are there. They're giving breaks, they're doing orders, they're pulling trucks. And, be patient. If you need to, take off a day from work. And I know that sounds horrible, but if you're working full time and you don't have the ability to take off, see them, if you don't have that in your schedule regularly, then take it off. The chance of you interacting with someone, and even call beforehand. That's another thing too, is say, I filled an application online and I was just wondering, can you let me maybe know when your manager would be working next? I'd really like to come in and talk to them. And if they say, yeah, they're going to be here on Thursday from 10 to like 4. Okay, well then look at your schedule. Maybe you can take an extended lunch. Let them know you've got to go take care of some personal business. Whatever the case may be, go there, show up, be enthusiastic, be positive. A lot of what they look for is personality. So after I did that, I went in and I got a phone call. And that phone call was from my manager, who wanted to schedule an interview. And I was over the moon ecstatic. I was like, yep, sure. When do you want me to come in? I'll be more than happy. I showed up, and show up on time. It's definitely a super, super, super big deal to show up on time. Do your interview. Talk to them, be personal, and be honest with them. I didn't go out and say I wanted IVF. That wasn't the reason why. But I told them that I felt like Strabucks was a wonderful company and that I wanted to have a side job to make a little bit of extra money. And, education was my primary career goal. It was never to be a career barista, but that I wanted something that was flexible and worked with my schedule, which was all 100% true. So Starbucks gave me my son. And that's an amazing thing to say. And I will wear this apron proudly. So when people hear that they unfortunately are going to have to do IVF, I don't want you to become discouraged. I don't want you to think that this mountain of bills of $22,000 for a chance. And again, that did not include medication. That was just the procedure and the doctor. My medication, what I paid without insurance, because I hit my max out of pocket very easily. The first round of medications, I exceeded it, was probably close to $12,000 was my total. And I paid about $7,000. And that's just on medications. So you're talking a $22,000 cycle plus $15,000 in meds. And that's one try. That's one shot. That's one chance to have a baby. There's no guarantee that that's going to last. There's no guarantee that that's going to work. There's no guarantee of anything. After they put that embryo in, it is a 50-50 shot. It is 100% just like if you had naturally gotten pregnant. Unfortunately, the thing is you can't try the next month without paying another $8,336. And again, that does not include medication. So that's where Starbucks saved my family. Starbucks gave me my baby. Starbucks bought my baby. They paid for my baby. If they did not have this insurance, I would not be a mom. And I 110% mean that. I would not be where I am today. I would not be watching my son sleep on a monitor and be exhausted from dealing with teething and be so filled with joy and happiness. Me and my husband would not have had the opportunity to have a family if it were not for Starbucks. And not only does Starbucks cover IVF, by the way, it also covers adoption, which is amazing. It offers $30,000 in assistance for adoptions, which is unheard of. And this is for part-time employees. This is not for full-time career. You have to work there forever. I'm going to make a second video breaking down what their insurance is and their requirements and how you get it and how long you have to work for it to happen. I'm going to do a second video and I'm going to talk all about that. And I'm also going to give pointers on interview questions and the ways to answer them. And also do a little bit about like what you're going to get yourself into. Because again, like I said, I feel like I'm a pretty smart person and this was a hard job. I cried more than once working there. And it wasn't just from being exhausted. It was just from the demands of the job and trying to do everything and trying to keep up with it. But Starbucks is an amazing company. Not only, like I said, do they cover IVF, they cover medications and therapies that would not normally be offered through insurances. And it's things that they don't have to offer, and they choose to. They offer college assistance. They will pay for you to go to college. Arizona State University Online. They will pay for you. Pay for you to go to college. That is the number one reason people have debt is student loan. And you can work there part-time as a barista and go to college for free. They offer stock options. They give you stock. And you can cash it in every year. They offer extended paternity leave. They offer childcare assistance. They offer so much. They are a wonderful company, and I will forever be grateful to them. So I hope you guys are going to like my little Starbucks Bought My Baby series. I am going to talk a little bit more, like I said, in my next video about what the insurance requirements were, and then I'm going to do a video about the job demands, and I'm also going to do a video with my husband and kind of talk about like how this impacted our life and what we went through for the almost year that I worked for Starbucks, and if I would go back. So I really hope you like it. If you're sitting here wondering, how am I going to pay for IVF? There are ways. If you want it to happen, it can happen. One of the best places that I will tell you to go is, if you are on Facebook, is to go to Starbucks IVF Warriors. It's a Facebook group and they are phenomenal. They will answer all your questions. Most of them are people who want to be baristas and be hired on. People who are baristas, there are store managers in there. There are 1,000,001 people to ask. So I will talk to you later, and hopefully you like this, and I will see you in my next video.